What's up, everybody? It's Dan Su here with more Stormbound. So the games today are all from the Renaissance tournament. This is the group stage, so I played three matches. All three were best of three, and there were specific rules for every single round. And I did a bit of deck building and deck testing before this, so I was relatively prepared, and I thought I had a pretty good turnout. So these are the games. I had a bit of recording difficulty, so all of this voiceover is done in post. So this first game was against a guy called Dad, and the deck restrictions were that everybody had to use cards of um, different unit types. So you couldn't have more than one satyr, couldn't have more than one pirate, and so on and so forth. And on top of that, and this is for all the rounds, you could not use any felines or elders. So it was essentially like strategies from a couple years back. Now, the first thing that stuck out to me is that because we're playing equal levels, I'm like very not used to having cards being so weak. And I think when the mana costs are lower, the strategy in general is pretty different. Because, for example, Gifted Recruits is a 2 mana card that only gives you one strength. Whereas, say, Wetland Deceivers is a 3 mana card that gives 3 strength. So at level 1, Wetland Deceivers is worth 3 Gifted Recruits. Whereas in when everything is level 5, a Gifted Recruit has 5 strength and a Wetland Deceiver has, I think, 7. And so a Wetland Deceiver then is barely worth more than one Gifted Recruit. And so I think the type of cards that you use are pretty different, and I was experimenting around. So for this first round, I decided to go with Swarm. I think Pillars of Doom is a pretty overstated card in level 1. It really freaks out the opponent when you play it because it's a serious clock. And you can see here that I have Siren of the Seas and Vindicators as finishers once you stick Pillars of Doom for a couple turns. As far as this deck goes, I think the strength overall it's not the best deck in the world. Um, I think I think decks that try to burn you out like this are a little gimmicky, and so it's pretty exciting when you play it because it's always kind of like 50-50, whether you'll nut out or they'll just overwhelm you. But overall, I think a couple very strong cards at level 1 are Victors of the Melee and Crazy Bombers. It was pretty hard to fit either of those two into the deck rules in this tournament, so I really wanted to get both of them in for the first round. You can see here I'm kind of just winning with like value cards like Head Start. It's 2 mana for 3 strength. It's pretty good. And the opponent, Dad, is running like some sort of aggressive style deck. But the thing is, if you look at the cards that he has, most of them actually generate very little value. Green Prototypes is essentially 0 strength. Gifted Recruits is 1 strength with 2 mana. Unhealthy Hysteria can be very useful, but it's super situational. Unstable Build, 2 mana for 4 strength, but if it survives 1 turn, then it's only 2 mana for 2 strength. Green Gale Serpents, if you only have 1 dragon, at most it can attack twice and be 3 mana for 3 strength. But most of the time it's going to be worse. So over here I greeted it a little bit. I put Pillars of Doom very close up so that if he wiped out my front line, I would still have a front line. But you can see it didn't pay off over here. So lesson learned, not a good play. I managed to keep the front line though, so yeah. Overall in this tournament, I'd say I really did not play around Windmakers, and I think that could have changed some outcomes. Yeah, again, Westwind Sailors, very good card when leveled up. Not such a good card at level 1. 3 mana, 2 strength. It's like 66% efficiency. So I took an insanely long time here thinking whether I should run Siren of the Season for 6 damage or not. But I decided to not go with the risky play. It's kind of the classic game where if you have an advantage, you just try to keep your front line up and eventually burn them out. I was pretty confident that he wouldn't be able to come back. He was just looking at his deck. He doesn't really have a value engine to gain the advantage back. Yeah, so he actually didn't have Salty Outcast in the submitted deck, but I think there were some deck issues overall in this tournament, um, and like to be honest, it doesn't matter that much. If I was at 5 health and he won with Salty Outcast, I might be a little bit more salty, but that was totally fine. And you can see here, Victor's actually didn't do very much for me um, overall, and that's because I expected to have it as more of a defense card. And over here, since he doesn't really have anything to attack me with, he always only has like 1 unit at most on board, so it's not that useful. Yeah, again here, Siren is kind of just like if I had more movement, it wouldn't be a dead card, but it's like not that useful. He's at 5 health, and then in another turn he's going to be at 3. At that point, anything could kill him pretty much. Siren is a little overkill. So at this point, I know he has a salty outcast, so I was actually a little scared about that. My biggest fear was just how can I make it so I don't die before I can get to kill him. So in this position, his dragons would move up and hit um, and prevent him from attacking my structure. And that should be the most obvious thing to realize. I actually almost made a mistake, a huge mistake, um, by putting my dragon in front of his dragon. Because first of all, conflicted drakes only damages non-dragons, and second of all, his dragon gets more strength when it attacks. So that would have been pretty bad, but that was smart. Yeah. So overall, the game took a bit longer than I thought it would, um, but we closed it out. All right. So this is the second game against Dad, or his in-game name is Niverio. So looking to cycle crazy bombers here. It's the 9 mana is kind of the sweet spot where you have it in your opening hand, you'll cycle it and get it back pretty much on your 9 mana turn. I got another Siren of the Seas, which is another auto cycle. That's the danger of playing too many high mana cards. Is um, usually usually when you cycle a card, it's because you can't use it, and if you can't use most of your cards in your early turns, then it really limits your options. Like ideally, you would have 4 playable cards, and the one you're cycling is the one that you just don't want to play as much. Yeah, off for the head start here. I think there was a little bit of a playing glitch there. Okay, he gets a Fell Flares. That's 3 mana for 4 strength, which is very good. Yeah, that's a pretty obvious play there. Conflicted Drakes is pretty good, but since I don't have any two mana cards to play with it, especially with Victor's of the melee in hand, it's usually good to go greedy because you can really defend yourself with that. And over here, you should be able to see that his his one um, his one construct isn't gonna be able to kill my thing. Oh, I actually killed it. But his frostlings when they move up will prevent him from killing my structure. So no need to defend it. The whole time I'm playing this deck, the only question in my mind is how fast can I count to 10? Because each turn is 2, Sirens is 6, so I could go 2, 2, 6. Vindicators, usually I can blast it for 4 if I land it, so I could do Vindicators, then Siren, or I could do Vindicators in 3 turns of Pillars. But it looks like he's going to kill my Pillars next turn. So I can do Wetland Deceivers plus Gold Grubbers, or I can do Victors plus some motion. I think I went for that play because I didn't want to trade with his tower that was going to kill itself anyways. All right, gets rid of that. Yeah, again, Victor's isn't doing very much for me right here. I think I think I was anticipating more of like a Swarm or a Shadowfen matchup where Victor's would have been a lot better. My the guy I play tested against pretty much ran uh, the same kingdom as me. So I think my first my first deck was a lot more swarm oriented. Yeah, feels bad getting Fell Player for just 2. The thing is, I don't think he's seen Siren yet, unless he took a look at my deck before the game. But what I'm thinking right now is, can I push my front line up and just siren him for next turn? Yeah, there we go. So even with a super sub-average board, Crazy Bombers, 9 mana for 10 damage overall, pretty good. Okay, so he's just going all out aggression now, and we all know what's coming. I think he got a little impatient here. Although I think he also recognized that he couldn't play the long game, so it was a choice he had to make. All right, and that wraps up round one. Good games. All right, so this next one is against Low Sun, and the deck restrictions here were you had to only play cards that were released at the start of the game. So it's a little bit off because at the start of the game, a couple of these cards were different. Notably, green prototypes and destructo bots both used to be really good, but they got nerfed. Collector mirrors as well. I went with Ironclad here, and in hindsight, I think Ironclad actually might just be the strongest. Um, might just be the strongest kingdom out of all four at level one. So so if I could redo my decks, I think they would all be in Ironclad. Bit of a hard decision here, but or it's not a hard decision on who to play, but it's a hard decision as to what exactly to do here. Turn one structure that does essentially nothing right next to my base, so I think it would be smart to let my structure trade with his units. So the reason I played Destructo Bots first is so that it wouldn't kill mirrors, so I could have two units to or one unit to defend my base like this. But optimally, you usually want to play mirrors first so that you can cycle faster and get that card that it shuffles into your deck. Yeah, I don't think Freebooters is a very good card at level one, unless you're playing Winter. I'm looking to get some value out of my units here. Although it's a bit of a risky play because oh no, never mind. I thought I was gonna play Link Golems behind my units, but that would have been very risky. So I cycled away Victors of the Melee to try to pull a green prototypes or destructive bots, and it didn't pay off. And now, in this situation, I would love to have Victors in hand, but it's unfortunate. So now he's trying to rush me down. He does have Fort plus Hearth Guards, which could deal 6 damage. So it's a 9 mana combo. So I would like to lay down the the hunter here, but seeing as I'm winning so hard on board, it's better to go for the conservative option because in the case where we just trade evenly for the rest of the game, I'm just gonna win. So there isn't too much to say here. I think this game kind of plays itself. If you're able to get collector mirrors off and not lose for it, then the units he generates pretty much secures the game for you. Again, I think a big part of the reason why these games just seem to flow so easily is because I'm just playing units that give higher value. Like the Blue Sail Raiders he played didn't really pressure my life total. 5 mana for 3 strength wouldn't have helped that much anyways. Freebooters. I don't think I saw North Sea Dog, but that was definitely eating up hand space. Gifted Recruits. Card which I used to love, but ever since they nerfed it by 1 strength, the level 1 version is just atrocious. Alright, so game 2. I think at this point I was pretty confident that I could take the game, just seeing at how the last game played out. The one thing I'll say is Ubis the Hunter definitely can turn some games around, and the other players not having him in their deck might have given me a bit of an advantage. Although last game at least, Ubis only really came into play once the game was already secure, so I don't feel that guilty for pay to win. Fort of Even Rock, I think that's a solid card. Yeah, so here I'm just going for some value plays, generate some value off of my structure. Really like finite loopers here because even if he does kill it, there's a possibility that I still get the strength. Yeah, just going for some more value. I don't think there was a really good play that would walk more units up to his base because there was no way to play my constructs in a way that generated a lot of value. So I went for this play. But if I was Swarm, I'd definitely go for pushing base. Overall, I'd say um, round round 2, or yeah, I think it's called round B. What basically this deck I think was my strongest deck overall. And I was the most confident in in the matchup. Both the Swarm game and the Shadowfen game I'm about to play after this, I was a lot less confident. All right, good games. All right, so this last game is from my opponent's perspective, Arthas Rue. I was having some technical difficulties on my side, so it's coming over from him. So, notably, um, Arthas Rue was using this card called Embers of Chaos, which is a 4 mana, 1 strength, 1 movement dragon that when it dies outside the enemy's base, it spawns a 6 strength dragon bordering the enemy's base. And the moment I saw this card on his deck list, I was in a total panic. Um, for whatever reason, I was expecting a Shadowfen opponent, and I did not get one. So a lot of my cards lost most of their value off the bat there. But I was still pretty sure that if I played a value game and was able to trade off effectively, I would be able to win. But you'll see shortly how Embers of Chaos does against me. I think Arthas Rue is a pretty experienced player. You can see over here he's in Diamond 3. But his knowledge of what's good at level 1 is also pretty spectacular. You can see he only uses high value cards the same way I do. There's no gifted recruits kind of thing here. Gold grubbers, debug loggers are all very solid. Oh, I should probably explain the deck restrictions here. You had to choose 4 different mana costs, and all of your cards had to come from those. And I think a general consensus was you pick 2, 3, 4, and 5 as your mana costs. And so I kind of played good Shadowfen cards and then just high value legendaries, which is usually not a bad strategy. I think the shortcoming here is you can't see my hand, which is unfortunate, but a lot of my cards um, were more relatively dead cards against him. I had um, I had the Obsidian Butchers, which drains all 1 strength units. Um, yeah, okay, so you can see here, he plays this dragon down, and then I essentially don't have a lot of options. Um, because if you kill the dragon now, you take the 6 damage. But if you don't kill the dragon, then he spawns a 6 strength dragon and then will fill up your front line after the fact. So the best solution would be to have enough firepower to kill the dragon and then kill the thing it spawns as well. But my synergy cards didn't really have that ability. So at this point, I know his deck, and so I know he has a siege assembly, and that's essentially the only thing I'm playing around because if it feels like I have board control, um, but I also know that he can Doctor me a plus C assembly to knock me out at some point. Yeah, he's playing it pretty smart here. He's putting his units in places where I essentially can't, um, I essentially can't get rid of them next turn. I should also note for this first game, I actually had a wrong card in my deck. I had Dubious Hags, which is the 2 mana 2 strength Raven. But the intended card was um, the 4 mana deal 5 damage to a poison unit, and if it dies, spawn a poison there. Yeah. So I put my Toad all the way in that corner so that he wouldn't be able to siege assembly in that line. But looks like he's able to pull it off here anyways. I think playing this match, I was a little flustered because off the bat, just looking at his deck list was pretty intimidating. And then the moment he popped Embers of Chaos off near my base, I was essentially like, yeah, everything I thought was going to happen would happen, and I was just very scared after that. Add on to that my deck, I put it in wrong, and the recording technical difficulties. Overall, it was pretty painful to play. Arthur's Brew is a pretty good player though. I had to respect a lot of decisions he made, both deck building and like playing them now. I think he's just looking for a way to close out the game ASAP. So he wants to get that value off of win makers by hitting both my legendaries, but I think this play is actually a lot smarter because he recognizes that I don't really have an answer to Embers of Chaos, so I can't really do much here. This is like the one situation where Gifted Recruit might be good against Embers. But even after that, I don't really have a card that can deal 6 damage to the dragon it spawns. Oh, you know what? I I found a way to live one more turn by by poisoning the unit. Would have been a better move if I had or if he had less than 9 health. If he had like 1 health, and I could potentially do something. But so I think here, to my deck building embarrassment, I don't even at 10 mana have a way to deal 6 damage to a unit. Or if I did, it involves Obsidian Butchers draining the strength of my other units. Yeah. I emoted here because I assumed he has to have a way to knock me out this turn with Dr. Mia somehow. But it looks like he didn't. Yeah, solid. He knows he's just buying time before he can pull off the Dr. Mia combo. Yeah, so Edric is a card that I don't play with too much, but I'm like convinced he's he's good at something at level 1, so I had to stick him into one of my decks. But he really didn't pay off here. Yeah, for the win. All right, so game 2, I'm itching to play this guy. I fixed my deck. I think it's called Marquez Prey. The 4 mana deal 5 damage to a poison unit. But at the same time, just based off how the last game went, I feel like my cards don't play very well against his. Yeah, I think Windmakers would move there. Or Cycling Windmakers. He's smart. He played his unit so that I can't attack it this turn, and set up for a good debug loggers next turn as well. Alright, so I want to get some value off my Toad, but little do I know he has Spell Flares. And Dr. Mia, 2 mana, 2 strength, is actually a pretty solid card in its own right. Like if you think about it, Lawless Herd at level 1 is 2 mana, 2 strength, and no upside, whereas Mia triggers abilities. So over here, I'm already thinking, oh no, he's going to drop Embers of Chaos on me. It's all going to be over. Oh, that was not a good turn. I think Golems is it's 3 mana for 5 strength, which is actually only marginally better than Harpies of the Hunt. Um, but I didn't have a second card to round out my mana. Yeah, and then here I have Mark. Mark does pray, yeah. Was really hoping to score something bigger, but I don't think any target would save me here. Right. So over here, you could already tell he's trying to get embers in, and Destructobots, one in one in three, one in has a 2 in 3 chance of letting him get embers close, and he got it. So from here, it was just not much to do. So after the first game, I was trying to think of how to play around embers. So I was like, well, the solution is like most definitely to not kill embers and then kill it the next turn. But I couldn't help myself. I had to do it. So I had a 1 in 3 chance here of having the dragon spawn right where my witches was right now. And if I could do that, then I could play witches to drain Dr. Mia and the dragons, which would have left it at 1 strength. And then I would be in a little better position than I am now. So got blown out by the Windmakers there, which was like a crushing blow because I was trying to play so well, and then I felt like I lost my 33% chance when he got embers up to my base, and then I lost my 66 or my other 33% chance when his embers dragon spawned in a different place, and then um, his Windmakers just kind of destroyed me. So I was just here like, yeah, there's not much I can do. It was a very good game though. Learned a lot. Learned a lot about what's good at level 1. So um, I think I'm gonna make it past the group round, and we'll see what it looks like in the next phase. All right. To guys who stuck around for this 40-minute video, thank you very much, and catch you next time.